It was my birthday. All I wished for was to finish everything on time just as we planned, but life had other plans, and I never could have imagined the surprise was waiting for me. Welcome back to our Polish farm. For those of you who are new here, we are building our dream farmhouse from scratch in Poland, and every video shows another piece of that journey. Just as we started working, my phone rang. It was my father-in-law, and he was supposed to arrive that morning to help us out. Or at least that was the plan. Unfortunately, something had come up for him, and instead of joining us early in that morning, he wouldn't be able to make it until that late evening. Of course, there was nothing we could do about it, so we kept pushing with my dad. Our plan was simple: finish installing all the ceiling hangers first. It was by far the most time-consuming part of the job, and with only a few rough tests left to complete, we wanted to get it out the way as early as possible. Once the last hangers were finally installed, we realized the job was far from over. First, we had to build a frame around the chimney, then do the same around the roof window. Let's just say, it wasn't the most comfortable position to work in. I bought an LED light, so we had some decent visibility during the night, because I didn't think we would have been getting much sleep that night. This is like having scaffolding. I should have bought it much earlier. I told my dad to focus on the roof window while I carried on with the insulation. Whenever I needed an extra pair of hands, I called him over and he helped me. I just felt like it's the most efficient way to work. We both stayed busy and the progress seemed much faster. The insulation itself is 15 cm thick, but it will get another layer before we hide it forever. Once the plasterboards are up, no one will ever see it again, yet it will play a huge role in our everyday lives, keeping the house cool during the summer and warm throughout the winter. Just a few hours earlier, this had been one huge empty space. Now it was finally starting to come together. By the time the sun went down, we had managed to insulate almost half of the house. As time went on, I became more and more confident. Every cut was more accurate than the last one, and the insulation started fitting exactly as it should. Not too loose, not too tight. It was actually quite enjoyable. Even though we were exhausted, there was something satisfying about seeing every section come together perfectly. No matter how tired I was, I couldn't lose sight of the goal. We were getting closer with every piece we installed. As I reached the top of the roof, I started using the smaller offcuts to avoid wasting any insulation. That's when the knight in shining armor arrived. It was my father-in-law, full of energy and ready to work. It was past midnight. We told him to save that energy for tomorrow morning, because we were absolutely dead. After a bit of work together, we called it a day. That extra pair of hands changed everything. While my dad focused on the window, making sure every measurement and every cut was accurate, my father-in-law and I pushed ahead with the installation. It's incredible how much of a difference one extra person can make. With 3 of us working together, the whole project suddenly gained momentum. There is not much to say here, just cutting, fitting, checking and repeating. It's one of those jobs that doesn't look like much on camera, but trust me, it takes a lot longer than this time-lapse makes it seem. It definitely wasn't boring though. We had plenty of laugh while working. The funny thing is, my dad is a bit of a perfectionist. Is that a good thing? I would say yes. Can it be a little annoying sometimes? Absolutely. He couldn't resist joking, of course. By the time he finished perfecting that one window, my father-in-law and I would have the entire house insulated. I was glad he cared so much about doing the job properly, but a bit of friendly banter is just part of how we work together. It made the long day a lot more enjoyable. By the time we finished all the installation, guess what? My dad was still perfecting that window. I think it deserves its own name. It's not just a window anymore, it's practically another member of the family. Then the moment of truth arrived. We were about to find out if all those hangers had been installed correctly. The first one, perfect. The second one, good. Everything was spot on. They clipped onto the hangers, felt solid, there was no movement at all, and it looked amazing. I was really happy because all those hours we had invested earlier were finally paying off. Each of these metal frames was 4 meters long, so in a few places we had to join them together. There's a special connector that slides inside both ends of the frame, locking them together and making the whole thing nice and solid. Let's talk about the cost of the metal framing. I bought 340 hangers, which cost a total of 476 watt. We didn't end up using all of them, but we will need the rest later. For the 72 CD profiles we are installing now, I paid a total of 936 watt. To join the profiles together, I also bought 60 sliding connectors, which cost just 84 watt in total. We filled the very top of the roof and all the little gaps here and there, making sure everything was properly insulated before hiding it all. Then we looked at each other and asked the question, are we done? Sure, it looked like we were done with the installation, but remember, we still had all those 5 cm rolls waiting to be installed. I remember saying to them, let's keep going and finish it. If we could just push a little longer, we could get it all done tonight. Obviously nobody was going to say, no, let's just go home and give up. So we kept going. When this whole project began, I thought I have a pretty good idea of what was ahead of me. Looking back now, I couldn't have been more wrong about just how much work it would take. I never imagined that not only my holidays but also my dad's and my father-in-law's would be dedicated to this build. I truly appreciate everything they've done for me so far. I couldn't be more grateful for all those long days they spent helping me build this house. To be honest, building a house on your own is a crazy idea. If I could go back in time, I probably wouldn't do it. Just kidding. But don't expect me to build another one. After a short but well-deserved sleep, reality hits us pretty quickly. We suddenly realized we had completely forgotten to install one of the profiles onto the wall plate, the one that would support the plasterboard running vertically. It was our last day together, and by now you can probably guess whether we managed to finish everything on time or not. I also had to sort out the electrical conduits, making sure they were securely attached to the wall plate so they wouldn't move around later when I started pulling the wires through. And that's a whole different story. Definitely not as easy as it sounds. The next step was installing the foil, more specifically the vapor barrier foil, which seals the insulation before we can start installing the plasterboards. It wasn't cheap though. 2 rolls cost 500 zloty, but I wanted to use a high quality product. We started to install it, and first we used some double-sided tape to see if it would hold it in place. Then a car pulled up to my land. I could see it wasn't anyone I knew, or at least the car, but I didn't pay much attention because I was too focused on the job. As I mentioned earlier, it was my birthday, so the last thing I expected was a group of friends to suddenly show up in the middle of nowhere. To be honest, I was still in shock because my wife had kept this surprise a complete secret. She definitely caught me off guard. Suddenly, we had more helping hands than we actually needed. This was also the moment when we hit 100 hours of building, and let me tell you, we didn't finish what we planned. We were not even close installing the foil, let alone installing the plasterboards. We had an incredible week, full of hard work, laughter, surprises and a few tears. I think we gained lots of memories. We will never forget those. While I was upstairs working, my wife kept calling me to come downstairs. I kept replying, "Yeah, just 1 second." But after about 30 minutes, she finally said, "You don't have a choice. Come now." So I did. And the moment I saw what was waiting for me, I just couldn't stop smiling. If you enjoyed today's episode, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a like, drop a comment and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and supports everything we are building here. See you after the holidays. Mark is out. Peace.